Video is for 4.1 part 1 finding intercepts. Example 1 says find the x and y intercepts for the lines expressed by the following graphs. If you look at your vocabulary from above, you can see that an x and y intercept means where the graph crosses the respective axis. An x-intercept is on the x-axis and has a 0 in the place of the y in the ordered pair. And a y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis and has a 0 in the x spot of the ordered pair. So let's take a look at the x-intercept on example 1a. You can see that it's crossing the x-axis right here and the y-axis right here. When we write the x-intercept, remember you have to use the proper form for ordered pairs, which is x comma y. And so this point right here is 2, 0. And the y-intercept would be 0, 3. And every x and y-intercept will look like that. It will be, for an x-intercept, a number, 0, and for a y-intercept, a 0, a number. So let's take a look at B. The x-intercept is right here. That's where it crosses this x-axis. And that is -4 to the left and 0 up or down from the origin. Remember, the origin is that middle point there, 0, 0. We're going 4 to the left, which is where that -4 comes from. And we're not going up and down any, so we have a 0 in the y spot. Our y-intercept is right here, and that is at 0, 2. Okay, so kind of easy when you're given the points, or when you're given the graphs and you're just finding the point. It's not as easy when you are given the equation and you have to find the x and y intercepts. So let's look at that and I'll show you how to make that work. Now, taking a look at example 1, we see that for x-intercepts, y is 0, and for y-intercepts, x is 0. We're going to use that to help us find the x and y-intercepts. Anytime you're told to find an x-intercept, we can plug 0 in for y into the equation and solve for x to find our x-intercept. So we can do that here. We have 3x plus 0 equals 12, or 3x equals 12. And then we would just solve for x. So to solve for x, we divide by 3, and we see x equals 4. So when we write our x-intercept, we're going to do 4, 0, because we let y equal 0. Okay, so now let's find our y-intercept. So same idea. We're going to let x be 0. And I'm going to show all of these steps this time, but I'm going to kind of show less as we go. So this is 0 plus 2y equals 12, or just 2y equals 12. Divide both sides by 2. Zoom out a little bit, sorry. Divide both sides by 2, and we have y equals 6. So our y-intercept is 0, 6. Okay, so let's just talk about that again on example 2b. For our x-intercept, we let y be 0. Now look at that 3 times 0. That's just 0. That means that this term basically disappears. So we just have -x equals 9. Now remember, when there's not a coefficient, it means there's a 1 in front of the variable. So we have -1, x equals 9. So we have to undo that -1, so it means we're going to divide. So x equals -9. So our x-intercept is -9, 0. To find our y-intercept, we let x be 0. So it's like that x term ends up disappearing because it's just 0. So we have 3y equals 9. To solve, we have to divide both sides by 3. And we have y equals 3. So our y-intercept is 0, 3. Okay, let's take a look at example 3. Graph the lines given the equations by finding the x and y intercepts. So this is really similar to example 2. We're going to start by finding the x and y intercept using what I just showed you in example 2, and then we're going to graph those points and plot the line. So an x-intercept, we let y be 0. So that y term is gone, so x equals 4. Now we have that point, so let's go ahead and plot that on the x-axis. Y-intercept, we let x be 0. So that x term disappears. So we have 2y equals 4. Divide both sides by 2, so y equals 2. So our y-intercept is 0, 2. We can go ahead and plot that. To graph a line between 2 points, so we have our 2 points. Now we're just going to connect them to form our line. Alright, so let's do that again on example 3b. Start by finding our x-intercept by letting y be 0. So that y term disappears. We have to divide both sides by -3, which gives us x equals -2. So that's going to be our x-intercept. So we can plot that on the x-axis. Our y-intercept, remember we let x be 0. So it makes our x term disappear, so we have y equals 6. We're going to plot that on the y-axis. We have our 2 points, so now we can connect them and form a line. So that concludes the part 1 video.